Here, email all this stuff. That's not what we're streaming. But let's get this fixed over here. Quick second, guys. Like that audio was supposed to be, or not the audio, that title was supposed to be. Oh, updated our title. Hopefully that works. I bring the screen back. All right, everyone. So I'm gonna actually cover some news and see what people are saying about it. Blow on the fuck up. I'll say fair bus. They think that when I'm talking about regulations, we're going to be cracking down on mom and pop shops. No, whatever. I'm not even going to entertain that. Most recent tweet. Let's go ahead and listen to what Trump has to say.
Those people that have been weaponized, that have been abused. But there's essentially never been a group of people treated so badly as these people. And this fund was not for me. This fund was for those people that have been weaponized, that have been abused. Now, I was abused. They attacked my house, Mar-a-Lago, where I live. And I was, big damages should have been given to me. I don't want anything. I'm not talking about myself. I think that there's a group of people in this.
So, what we have here is Trump crying about the fact that this slush fund $1 billion lawsuit to reward J6ers fell through. Of course, he's not going to fight for it because it really actually wasn't one of the things that was for him, so he's not going to fight at this point. But I said, Black people in just about every minority you can think of in this country have faced far more persecution for their skin color than J6 rioters. Like, it's not even close. Were what? That were the J6 rioters? Were they like in chattel slavery? Were the J6 rioters persecuted into internment camps? Were they used to war through mountains in the Industrial Revolution? Sorry about that. The kiddos heading in at the door. Please, thank you. All right. So I don't. The J6ers, it's so funny to me because my main problem with the conservative MAGA movement is they are the biggest crybabies that you can think of. The biggest crybabies. All right, let's see what we got over here. So much. Hey, that's a bad I say because I never even have seen. Okay, science. Yeah, that's gonna like. All right. People are acting up all the time on. Let's see what else is going on here. So we're also at CNN. Really come to CNN for format like my political conscious opinion, and the main reason for that being is that like I fundamentally disagree with a whole lot of what mainstream media says, especially when it comes to the left. But on certain random news reporting and standard stuff, it's literally not that bad. Certain time. It's not that bad. Because at the end of the day, like whenever you're talking about cyber attacks and stuff like that, but
Types of computers that monitor water pressure and other safety parameters at water systems. And what happened here is that someone, possibly Iran, not confirmed yet, but someone earlier this week carried out this sort of sweeping cyber attack across potentially 6 states. The epicenter was sort of in Minnesota, where he had 30 water systems affected.
now here's what I'm gonna say. I don't know for a fact that Iran. I don't trust the broader apparatus of America whenever it comes to interpreting our actions, engagements, and wars in the reporting. But let's say if Iran did do this, all right, or stuff happens, still far better than how we obliterated unalive some children within the first day of the conflict. But why does it keep reverting back to? I need to really figure out what's going on. But in any case, yeah, let's go ahead and look at my Twitch in a second. It's not. It's not written it too. Oh god, that's just chatting. Sweet. Now let's reestablish pages connections. See, there's a drop in my stream for a second, so I guess it re-auto loaded to the last known stream. Alright, we're good. Let's see. Alright, gonna resume my commentary. So, let's say that Iran did do this cyber attack that they're talking about on CNN today. Okay, or the broader point for me is why is our infrastructure so terrible in this country? Why is it that, like, when we think of what makes America great, we can only think about it in the terms of imperial existence, what it is that we can procure through the extraction of other countries. Why is our infrastructure so susceptible to a nation that we're allegedly better than? It just makes no sense to me, but whatever. But I think the bigger thing when it comes to water, our community, let's go ahead and look at like what I was reading earlier. So Arizona, California, and Nevada would share cuts under federal proposal to manage the Colorado River. This to me is indicative of the times of climate change. Since I moved to Colorado, a lot of discussion around water rights is like constant. Uh, the local governments, the state don't own the water per se. It's a bunch of corporations, which I think is terrible. Definitely should nationalize those resources, but regardless, with the watersheds and the ditching authorities and things like that. But the Colorado River and like water that comes from the mountains that are in Colorado get dispersed between Arizona, California, and Nevada. Very dry and desolate places. Personally, I'm a firm believer that if the water is from Colorado, it should stay in Colorado. Not gonna lie, if you chose to live in Arizona, which is like a damn desert, like I don't know what to tell you. That's just me. It's a little harsh, but that's just me. Regardless, I know since I moved here, there's been a lot of political discussion of renegotiating that. But I was curious as to what this had to do with some of the management of the Colorado River. So, taking a read here, says on Friday, the Bureau of Reclamation proposed a 10-year plan to require Arizona, California, and Nevada to reduce Colorado River water use, aiming to stave off the crisis of the beleaguered waterway. Now, I agree. Water is very scarce, but that's also in the broader context of what are we using our water for? A lot of our water is being consumed in industries that aren't sustainable for us in the first place. A lot of this concern around data centers, a lot of them popping up in Colorado. I personally support of all the environmental issues and see how AI could lead to other things that can help with labor, but in terms of just these giant data collection boxes to just pump out regurgitated AI slop. No, 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 not in favor of that. Not at all. Especially when it comes to art. Especially when it comes to people's art. Like, there's a lot of things that, like, I don't kind of believe in intellectual property. I think that, like, for the most part, some thought has been thought by someone else. It's just whether you're able to act on it. And in this country, were you within the class, the financial class, to people to act on those ambitions, those thoughts and ideas? It's kind of like Elon Musk, richest man in the world. He buys a shit ton, a ton of patents, right? Before the ideas are even created. And so by the time someone goes through the work and create it, you can just snatch them and be like, yep, turns out I thought of this a long time ago. Even though you did all the work and created it, it is mine now. Pathetic. I hate this country. I do. It's so much BS. Anyways, the framework authorizes that Lake Powell releases 5 million and 12 million acre feet, while the lower basin faces cuts up to 3 million acre feet in 2036 and ranges subject to hydrology. More than 40 million Americans rely on the Colorado River, and communities may face higher water prices, increased groundwater reliance, and agricultural production loss. The proposed cuts. Yikes. But they do have to reduce their usage. I think there's just so much more we have to do in terms of energy to help stave off what we're using water for in other sectors. No data center, even if it is allowed to exist, should be able to use any. You better find some other way to cool it off and some other usage, all honesty. And it needs to be closed loop, so you need to recycle whatever water you do get initially allotted. Full closed loop, produce some energy. Like, there's a lot of stuff that just has to absolutely change how we envision the trajectory of this country. Insanity. The Secretary of Interior, Doug Burgum, stated, say the framework provides the flexibility to respond to changing hydraulic conditions while preserving a consensus of opportunities. Water management decisions occurring every 2 years through 2036. All right, now that's kind of just a broad synopsis overview. I'm not really going to go into like what I love about the ground news is it can see like what's left leaning, central, maybe kind of to the right. But I think what's very interesting about this graphic is you can tell when it's something that like the right or left or doesn't care about. Water, even though it's heavily tied to corporations and stuff like that, you would think some of the concern Republicans, no, because at the end of the day, they don't care about shit, things like this. Like, they don't care absolutely do not care. Whatever. Let's see what's on the page here. Bruce Evans, yes, but I really didn't know. And very normal. This is the stressful. So I think this is about the time we can talk about something I haven't really been able to explain. Be like every other black person thinks that this black man was absolutely unalive. Unalive by the white people that he was. Too often does this happen. Historically, has happened. See it any other way. Now, if you try to approach it from even a standpoint of not being biased, trying to get all the facts first, so many things aren't aligned. When boat made multiple stops, they were cleaning it at night. The judge having to feel the need to give out like this entire this entire standard no foul play well before any investigation is needed. And then I think uh, most shocking is that like, oh, he was found clothed. Like, what was this thing clothed? And then also in terms of that endearment going on and all else is that I believe there's reports that there wasn't water coming in the lungs. So I mean, being purposely getting to this, I want as many eyes on this case as possible because this black man is some justice. And I personally, as a rule of thumb, never go anywhere, especially in secluded places with white people. Sorry, but given the history of what happens to black people in forests, what happens to black people in the ocean, what happens to black people in any secluded area away from the privy eyes of society, they're more likely to be abused, and that assailant is more than likely a white. My children won't be anyway that they're out for absolutely not. And I even have children that I'm stepfather to that are very white presenting, and I'm still gonna make them cultured in who I am, and who we are, who your father is, and why there's just certain things that we don't do. Hey man, here's what it is. I want to tell you. Do not know what to tell you. Let's go to Twitter and look at some sites. Oh, what's going on? 8% chat, 8%. It's how conservatives use the word social subscriber. I mean, true. What is it? It's the scholar. It's the is I'll just look at the tag because that's honestly what it is. Like communist. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. The Internal Security Act 19K. Alright, Communist Control Act. So, what do you think about this law? And then we have the new one, the NS. I can't remember the I don't remember whenever I think about it, but we have the full weight of the government starting to come down on the idea of what communism is, we're communists, why we need to stop communists, how can we please stop communism? It's not going to work. I think that we're too far pushing the plight of capitalism is pushed so far and progressive at this point that the most standard person is finding affinity for socialism because they don't want to identify as a socialist. But it doesn't mean that they will not try to arrest every single one that dissents. So I find this too very funny because at the end of the day, yes, everything is communist, and anything that's going to be a criticism of the administration or how you can't afford your groceries, how you can't go and live with dignity needs to be criminally punished. Like, oh my god. I have a hard time seeing anything. See what it's like. Yeah, have you been around for this? Yeah, they're oh gosh, talking about Israel. So a lot of what's been happening on my Twitter feed, and a lot of
Candidate
let's go
is?
ahead and listen
Luckily,
to
I don't
this
think I'm
audio.
going to have to make that calculation at all because there is 0% chance that whoever the elected Democrat is that wins the primary will be pro-Israel in any way, shape, or form. You'll see.
Will you endorse the 2028 candidate if they are pro-Israel in a way that you don't like? If you ultimately are about defeating fascism in this country as you describe it, surely shouldn't you get on board with whoever the main candidate is?
Luckily, I don't think I'm going to have to make that calculation at all because there is 0% chance that whoever the elected Democrat is that wins the primary will be pro-Israel in any way, shape, or form. You'll see.
I mean, and that's honestly the truth. I mean, if you think about it, oh, Shannon Watts, I'm so sick of liberals. Oh, God. Popping up all over my Twitter feed. But in any case, yes, no one is voting for a Democrat a second time that can't condemn the G-side that's happening in Gaza. And I'm tired of giving my tax dollars to Israel, though. I don't have health care. I mean, I have health care at my job now, thankfully. Very good health care. And even the job before, but like, it's still expensive. They're still out of pocket. Oh, I should not pay nothing out of pocket. When out of my pocket, I'm already being pickpocketed by the government for taxes. And I believe in taxation. It's just I want my taxes to be used in a public service or something that benefits me and that doesn't go boom, boom, children in Iran. That's what I want. I do not. It's shame. That's another reason why I only do this. So, nobody is in the chat really, and that's fine. There's a lot of revamping I'm gonna do with my channel. I'm just trying to get in the habit of now of getting back into. That's it. Post this week. I updated again from the reconnected. I don't want my Texas to go to an already inflated military budget and a foreign country that's supposedly ex rogue and they feel like it off anyone's whoever they want. Exactly, my boy Sleep. Always coming in with that good ish, boy. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not crazy. A lot of people aren't crazy. This is the point. We have to anticipate what do we want the future of this nation to look like at a critical inflection point where grocery prices have skyrocketed. I mean, corporations found that they could exploit people to the max during the pandemic, and now they're just carrying on and increasing those prices again and again and again. Not only do we need to rein them in, but we need to look at how did we get to this point where we became so comfortable that the money we pay doesn't create a baseline of services that whether it's a pandemic or not, every American is insured to live with dignity. And then moving on from that point to expanding, okay, these are the services that we need: housing, healthcare, and dental care. But I consider that healthcare, but I need to make exceptionally clear dental care as well. And transportation, because I truly believe that that is right. I believe in a civilized, just, modern society that transportation should be included in the things that you guarantee to move freely around the nation you live in. And it also upsets me too, and what makes me very upset is that because housing is not a guaranteed right and is treated as a speculative asset, that no one really talks about. Even if you do afford a house, another side of how we become house poor is that now you're tied to this property, and it's not easy to just get rid of a house or sell a house and get out of it. I'm tied to a mortgage right now, back. I'm going to say that I'm not living in. it's hard to get rid of it because now you're tied to this property. But what if your job moves? Now you have to move with your job. You have to do all these other different things. Or like job opportunities may die out. These are all things that we have to consider. That like, yeah, it needs to be a right. It needs to be a lot easier to move into home ownership and be able to transfer to different modes of living throughout your life. That in this country. Let me go ahead and I'm wrestling for a second. Got into my stream again. Reconnected. I won't ever have to do this again by the time I get a new title. Or by the time this stream's in and this becomes the default title. Throughout your life. That in this country. Let me go ahead and I'm wrestling for a second. Got into my stream again. Reconnected. I won't ever have to do this again by the time I get a new title. Or by the time this stream's in and this becomes the default title. Throughout your life. That in this country. Let me go ahead and I'm wrestling for a second. Got into my stream again. Reconnected. I won't ever have to do this again by the time I get a new title. Or by the time this stream's in and this becomes the default title. Throughout your life. That in this country. Let me go ahead and I'm wrestling for a second. Got into my stream again. Reconnected. I won't ever have to do this again by the time I get a new title. Or by the update that again. This is why I'm only going to be able to stream raw. Even though I have really good internet for gaming, by the time I'm streaming and my fiance is streaming and gaming, they can't really handle both of us at the same time. It's not a thing that we can make happen. Oh gosh, let's go ahead and see what MSNBC needs to say about Elon Musk pouring millions.
This is the one
re-elected in 2024. Of course, you can't go and say that the world's richest man is also one of the world's most vociferous and vocal bigots. And if you're not paying attention, maybe it doesn't look like he's spouting off absolutely vile, hateful stuff all the time. Lots of the tweets on the social media platform he owns are like this: "You have said the actual truth." True, or simply yes. You get a lot of that. When he says, "You have said the actual truth," he's responding to the claim, quote, against whites. When he says true, he's promoting a post comparing the woke left to Adolf Hitler. When he says yes, and it's a response to a meme from a racist movie with the text, "First the traitors, then the invaders," an apparent nod to themes found in the neo-Nazi screed The Turner Diaries. Jamel Bouie is an opinion columnist for New York Times, where this week he asks, why do we tolerate Elon Musk's racist commentary? Good question indeed. And he joins me now. Jamel, I loved your column, and it asked the question that I'm wrestling with. What do you make of the strangeness of how explicitly racist he is, how extreme he is, and sometimes, sort of toying with approval of violence, and the sort of lack of a response to it?
I honestly, I asked the question in the column, but I myself am not entirely sure that I have a satisfactory answer. It's very strange, as you point out. If you just scroll through his replies and see what he is replying to, it is truly vile stuff. You mentioned the Turner Diaries. I
Denver
talked
doesn't
about
see
it a
all the
bit
way
in my
over there.
column. The
Just like in
ideological,
I need
miasma
$25.
that Musk is plugged into is very much from the same corners of the far right as the Turner Diaries, and it's just right there. It's like it's not hidden. It's right in front of you. And so why is it that so many commentators and politicians and such just don't treat it as if it's a thing? Perhaps it's because people think it's not appropriate to call this stuff out. Perhaps because they think it sounds like you're being hysterical if you call this stuff out. But as I note in the column, you can make a good case that these views aren't just a quirk that Musk has, but have like material effects in the world. The destruction of the United States Agency for International Development last year by Musk. He bragged on his X account about putting it in the wood chipper by Musk, is estimated at this point to have claimed over up to 700,000 lives, largely in places like sub-Saharan Africa. And to my mind, it's hard not to see a connection between his enthusiasm for destroying programs like USAID and his views.
Yeah, let's play. I mean, this is something. It's been interesting. He has been kind of very defensive about those estimates, about what is done, and not just estimates, reporting. I mean, multiple outlets, including New York Times, has done great work on this, of actually going to places and like talking to a mom who lost her child because the maternal care she had funded through AID was cut off, as an example. He was recently interviewed by the editor.
Our politics have never been more bought than they are today, guys. Our politics have never been more bought than they are today. I think it's funny that Democrats think that they can out corporate Republicans who really don't have a moral basis to not accept money and keep the system as is. I mean, that's the point of conservatism. And give it conservative, keep as is. You can't be a progressive party and take donations. That's why so I'm about to reply to this tweet. Is like, dude, name a Haley Stevens policy goal or name policy goal. I don't want to say this for Senate. Name a policy goal. The issue that I have with Haley Stevens, as most sane people do and people on the left, is she's a person that's just a trench coat of corporations. Reconnection successful. Reconnection successful. Reconnection successful. Or even in the stream, I'm gonna have to.
It's not gonna let me do it
Why?
because I have to put it to my Google. Honestly, I should just get
Hoping that everything's alright with the stream. The only ones that have fought. Alright. Constantly. Constantly mega. It's everything. Nearly everything. The Tim's response. Y'all make concessions. I can't even stand on abolishing ICE, and you're talking about fighting. That's not fighting. Trying to repurpose ICE or live with ICE is not fighting conservatives. It's trying to meet in the middle, which is all y'all fucking do. It's just all y'all do. You just meet in the middle. That's not fighting. It's annoying liberals think we're just resisting. We're doing so much. No. Dog. Birthright, citizenship, barely passed with a 5-4. Five four. It was that close. We were that close to having a precedent set for presidents to override entire constitutional amendments. We were so close to having presidents override entire constitutional amendments with just executive orders. And liberals want to talk about how they're fighting. Dog, stop. No. It's over, dog. It's losing, it's ineffective, and it just cowers in the face of fascists. Headed to Michigan ahead of next week's primaries is where I will say yeah, myself right there represent all the line Caros and went aristocrat they abandoned SA. So funny to me that liberals want to abandon the progressive movement that's happening on the left, and we're the only ones that have exciting candidates. The only ones. The only ones. So we have here. They keep saying Mike Rogers trails and Stevens leads, or that Haley Stevens leads. Hold on, Alright, I'm back. I'm back. Sorry about that. We're just gonna keep going in and out a little bit. Weather is not good here. The mountains, it's not for the faint of heart. Let's just say that. But I love it here in Colorado far more than any other place that I've lived so far. Say that, which hasn't been many. Well, not more than any other place. I love DC, but politics are crazy around there. I love DC, a very black city. I like that about DC. It's, it's good to me. Feels good to me. Yeah. 164,000 likes. My most banging tweet ever. All time. Alright. The polling numbers, a lot of these pollings just polling data is hard to trust. It does give a good indicator, so you can't outright dismiss them, but sometimes they're just completely off. Because I've seen more and more about like, oh, it's so close between Al Sayed and Haley Stevens. Then another poll will come out and be like, dude, it's nowhere near close. I need to spend more time vetting the integrity and what are the specific questions and the attention they're gauging these polls off of. But all I know is that if I was in Michigan, I would support Abdullah Sayed. Literally, again, Haley Stevens just last week voted to send money to Israel. Just last week. Like, how is that serving Michigan? One second, everyone. All right. Family and kids, of course, keep jumping in the stream. Always jumping in the stream. When it comes to DSA, I'm committed, uncommitted. Yeah, sure, bro. 2010 process, deal breaker. I do not know what's happening with liberals where they think that leftists significantly set out. Like, for example, I voted for Kamala Harris. She was the best option we had. But when it comes to like primaries and all this other stuff, no, I'm not settling for a middle of the road candidate. No, I'm fighting for the most left, the most socialist. Now is the time to give more options because we need better damn options. In the general, it comes down to like, all right, I guess like who is the better between the two. That's not something I'm entertaining in the fucking primaries of all places. Be real. Be real. Be so real. And people just like corporate money, APEC takes support. IA polls. Yeah, see, and here's the funny thing. The same, you'll have polling that's just like, oh, she's so close, she could be my regulars, and then just people just saying that they all see the corporate money as being shoveled into. Uh, I think it's funny that we're also at a time where we're being lectured about the appropriate time to push for change in your party. And I couldn't disagree more with that assertion, because what it comes down to that at all times you should be pushing your party in the direction that you want, and you can't just be focused on the general, losing in the general, and be like, oh, they're the enemy and they just didn't accept us and they get whatever's coming to them. No, you need to have a competitive message. That's why every time now, and I need to do this all on my timeline, anytime that they bring up, oh, yes, they are fascists. Oakley. Alright, let's just do a quick definition of fascism. PSA is fascist. Okay, bro. Yeah, sure, sure. People that want to get rid of the PD3, the PDF file militia that's marching in the streets, arresting people, detaining people, and wants to abolish that, are they're just woke fascist stuff. I swear they just say anything. They say anything. Funny. See, I realized. Yeah, I said y'all can't even stand the vibes. That's if they fought MAGA this hard. Let's look up under my post that a man talked about his parents with racist attacks from the left. This shit is no different than the propaganda in the 1930s. There is quite literally no difference, is what she's claiming. I just here's all I'm gonna say about the things I'm seeing my time on the liberals. They'll take isolated incidents and they can come up with an entire narrative. This is the left, this is the left, this is the left. But they'll ignore all research, polling, failed presidencies. That's the truth. The only time Democrats in my lifetime have won a presidency is when they have pushed a popular left candidate. Obama was extremely popular because he was pushing to be left and did provide for us within the last 80 years of this country the most progressive healthcare reform in this country through the Affordable Care Act. Joe Biden was parroting talking points of a single payer option. Those are the only two Democrats that have won in a national election. I want to say again, national electability. A national electability. Because they're always talking electability politics. Electability. How electable are they? The only Democrats that have been elected are people that have been progressive. Centrism has kicked us in the butt twice now. And it will always do that, especially if you can't disavow blatant blemishes. Yes, and you're Jennifer. It's pulling 6%. Abdul Sayed, who's this by? 437 likely Democratic primary voters. 5% undecided. How are you undecided as a Democrat? Like, your options are progressive, Medicare for all. I dislike liberals, hate MAGA Republicans. But undecided might be far worse than all of that because, like, what are you doing? You don't know. You don't know if you're going to be a Republican and support just outright fascism. You don't know if you're going to be a liberal that thinks the system's okay and that it'll just, if we just weather through it. I don't even know what liberals stand for. Again, I'm asking them what their policy is headed for into 2028 because I've been harping, I've been looking, I've been trying to see, like, what direction does the party think it has? It has nothing. It only knows what it stands against, which is the progressive left. But I digress. Being undecided and not knowing, like, I guess that is fault of, like, Democrats. But you know, Haley Stevens is, I guess, is your alternative. Like, what's the alternative to Abdul and Haley? You're a Democrat in Michigan. That 5% is interesting. After seeing multiple polls, we also have blown out Stevens and still losing to Rogers, was still pushing for him because mind blowing. Yeah, that's because we believe in fighting for people's votes, and we believe that, yeah, he can actually push for something progressive. Sorry, we just don't want another corporate shill candidate. And the thing about Mike Rogers winning is funny because, like, you're grading it on the parameters of, like, centrism. And that's the problem, is that Michigan isn't really a purple, or it really shouldn't even be a battleground state. It's really a blue state, in all honesty. But you just keep putting the softest, weakest candidates in front of people. I haven't seen Haley Stevens' ground game. I've seen a few photo ops, but it's funny to me that I actually have not seen any ground game from her. And furthermore, on top of that, I've seen Abdul convert Republicans, MAGA Republicans, over. That's that more perfect being. Is that what it is? Are they the ones that did that video? I don't know. All I'm saying is I've actually seen Abdul be able to convert, which is a stronger case than anything that Haley's got going on right now. Nothing I can see from that. Let's listen. Last thing he said about Dr. Yoshi.
At Lemonade, you can sign up for insurance in seconds. Get a quote at lemonade.com.
Watching Anthony Fauci before a congressional hearing taking the Fifth Amendment is just one of the most heartbreaking things I have seen in government in my lifetime. They want to prosecute him, they want to convict him, and they want to throw him in prison. That's the point of this hearing. There is no other point of this hearing. We are in a Senator Joseph McCarthy climate where there is such fear that people have, and legitimate fear, that they'll end up in prison for what they say. We are in a dark period of America.
Sometimes it takes someone from outside of the immediate bubble to speak truth that pops that bubble. That was the founder of TMZ, Harvey Levin, on the shameful display by Senate Republicans yesterday. Just a small fraction of the overwhelming backlash Republicans received, as Donald Trump and his allies try to do to Anthony Fauci what they've already done to Jim Comey, Tish James, John Brennan, and other perceived political enemies of Donald Trump. weaponizing the government, and as Harvey Levin says there, trying to create a predicate for criminal prosecution of Anthony Fauci for simply doing his job. Former President Joe Biden went out of his way in the final days of his presidency to try to protect Fauci, issuing him a blanket pardon. Senate Republicans, led by Rand Paul, who released excerpts of Fauci's personal diary in advance of the hearing, dragged in front of the Senate Homeland Security Committee in an attempt to get Fauci to perjure himself and get around that pardon. Instead, Dr. Fauci refused to take the bait. He pleaded the Fifth for the duration of the hearing, which Senate Republicans attempted to twist into some kind of admission of guilt. If pleading the Fifth is an admission of guilt, then someone should knock on Donald Trump's door. He invoked it more than 450 times. Rand Paul ejected Dr. Fauci's lawyer for attempting to answer a question and ended the hearing vowing to vote to hold Fauci in contempt of Congress. Joining our coverage is former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Obama, now co-host of Pod Save the World, our contributor Ben Rhodes. Also joining us, former Senior Advisor to President Biden and Vice President Harris, former Mayor of New Orleans, Mitch Landrieu's here. He's now the co-chair of American Bridge 21st Century. Mitch, I'll start with you. I'm increasingly aware, I guess I'm always aware of the fact that the world is watching, that Americans pay attention to matters close to home, but around the world, people, in a lot of instances, pay closer attention than we do. And this is surely one of those stories on the front pages of a lot of newspapers around the country. A scientist who was so revered by George W. Bush, and President Obama and President Clinton, a scientist who even Harvey Levin talked about his history of saving lives at the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. Let me play some of that for you too. This is more Harvey Levin.
Anthony Fauci
try and disavow him, and it's crazy because Trump himself gave Dr. Connection issues here. Gonna get you to go ahead and close out the screen. Still gonna be tweeting throughout the day and trying to keep up with news. So follow me. You know, make sure you're following me. Real Chris Jackson on X, really it's Twitter. And you'll catch a lot of my commentary, posting all my clips. It's just me revamping my former gaming channel into what is now personal. Let's see, has it been something like a exactly. Okay, good. It's good, we're slowly centralizing all things. I love how there's space inside. There. That works. Let's go ahead and see if it did my sky if it posted properly. So we got here. I was able to give some of my general thoughts. Look at some start intro. The login. Yeah, we gotta change looks. So let's change it. Alright, well, we gotta work on how this guy, but it's all in a trend, it's all in a work, we're getting ourselves together. In any case, thank you to everyone who tapped into the stream today. Oh, we gotta change this over before I end this stream. You have to change this over so that I can get so I can end it as some of the subject tabs. If we get this fixed up here. Oh, yeah, so, let's reload. Alright, that's what I need the stream title to end as. Get here like this, which should be all good, and it'll never revert to that other title whenever everything connects. We're gonna stop streaming.